Hello, you are watching the Financials module demonstration of Armanino's Dynamic Insights solution, a purpose-built solution for Dynamics 365 for finance and operations, as well as Dynamics AX. If you have found yourself asking questions such as, why don't I have sales or spending reports that reconcile to the GL? Or how do I get audit reports of the GL that show the supporting subledger information? Or how do I answer the follow-on questions that inevitably are raised during a business review? We have the solution for you. What we'll do is we'll go through the Dynamic Insight solution through several different tools. The first one is an end-user experience with Power BI. Here we can see that we have a Power BI dashboard, and the focus here really should be on the data itself. So we can see that we're bringing in sales order information, posted invoice information to get the revenue, to get ultimately the backlog. And then you can see it broken down by dimension. So I can see bookings by company, by business unit, which is a financial dimension, and item group, which is a grouping of different items based on information on the item table itself. Down at the bottom, I can see the same type of information, but trended over time. And then finally, I can see customer information. So I can see the bookings, the revenue, the backlog for each of the different customers. So just as with any Power BI dashboard, there's interaction in between the different charts. So I chose Cleaner, and then everything's been filtered down to that. And now I can see the specific customers who purchased Cleaner products. As I scroll down on my dashboard, what I can see is that I have access to low-level information. So here I can see the customer that purchased particular items, the dollar amount of each item that was purchased, the sales order details with the delivery address for each of the orders, the invoice ID, the sales order number, as well as item information. But it's all in the context of the GL. So I can see the account information here from the GL that this particular sales invoice line posted into. From an operating expense standpoint, imagine that I'm the manager of the sales and marketing department. Here I can see actuals versus budget, and I'm going to choose my particular department here. I can see actuals versus budget. I can see the companies in AX or D365 that have the data flowing through, and then I can see my trend over time. Now, I might think that I haven't exceeded my budget, but it's easy to get down to the detail, and I can see, by the way, that I've exceeded my budget pretty regularly, in fact, because the turquoise line is above the black and the black line is the budget. So if I want to see the detail that makes that up, I can go into this OPEX transaction detail section, expand it out. Now I can see the different companies. I notice that they're all with my department of sales and marketing. I can see the GL account that my purchases posted into. And then I can see the GL journal entries when it's a GL journal. But in the case of when I have a vendor purchase, I can see that I bought items from citywide advertising and then the dollar amounts for each one of those. But it's all in the context of the GL, all for my department. So it's very easy for me to get down from the high-level GL-based view down to the specifics of what was purchased, all within this one single dashboard. And that's because of the data behind the scenes. So as a finance user, I might be interested in a report writer. So here is the Excel add-in that we offer. I can see the GL account structure on the rows. I can see common measures across the top with the GL amount and a budget, and then within the report writer, I calculated these variances. I can go up here, change my time period. Now it's going to be an October report. I could choose a different company if I needed to. I could go over here, double click on the gross profit. It's going to show the revenue grouping and the total cost of goods sold down to the posting account for each within the context of the gross profit. So it's very interactive just through double clicking. And then maybe what I need to do is I need to take this view where I'm comparing actuals versus budget, but I need to make it a simple trended report instead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, go to rotate, and choose the time period. And I'm going to switch the GL amount for the time period. And the report will refresh here, and then it'll have the time periods across the top. So now I can see I have a trended report over time with the different GL accounts. So again, just to give you a quick idea of the flexibility of the tool and the report writing capability that's offered and provided. So I'm going to go over to quite possibly everybody's favorite tool, or at least mine, which would be an Excel pivot table. So here I've got the same type of structure as what we saw before. I've got the GL accounts on the rows. I've got time across the top. Over here in my pivot table field list, I can see all the different dimensions that are available in the cube. So I've got the business unit, which would be an example of a financial dimension, company, which is a legal entity out of D365, cost center, which is a financial dimension. This is used for AR, AP aging, which is out-of-box capabilities. I see customer and vendor information, which is available. As I scroll through, I'll come back to the document type dimension, but I can see the person who's responsible for an order and then who is the taker, so who inputted into the system. These are all values that are really helpful when it comes to doing detailed analysis of what's going on in the system. I can see item information, the order date when something was placed, project-related information, so information from the projects module will flow through into here, shipment information, date that the transaction posted to the GL, and ultimately version, which will have the sales order, or the actuals, the budgets, things of that nature. So just to give you a quick idea of the kind of data that's in this cube. So I'm going to look at only the period of October. I'm going to keep that. And so now my report is filtered down to only October, and I'll make that a filter on the report here. And one dimension that's been added to the cube that's really powerful is this one called document type. And what it's going to do is it's going to break down the GL. So this is going to be what's posted into the GL itself. But now I can see it broken down by the different sources. So I can see what came from the sales ledger, the purchase ledger, what originated in the GL itself as a journal entry, the project ledger. But this is a really powerful dimension when it comes to understanding the data that's hit your GL. So and we'll come back to that in just a moment. But I'm going to make that a filter on the report again. And then let's take a look at this by trade dimension, which is going to break it down by customer and vendor. So same story here where the grand total will represent what's posted to the GL. I can see that I have transactions that don't have a customer or vendor. So these would be GL journal entries or manufacturing expenses, things like that that don't necessarily have a customer or a vendor associated with them. If I open up customer, I'll see that I've got the customer posting groups off of the cus table. And then under retail, I can now see that I'm at the customer level itself. So what this means is that off of $172,000 in sales, I generated $80,000 in gross profit after I subtract out the cost of goods sold. So that was for the Birch company. If I want to look at the items that I sold to Birch, I'll choose filter and then go to keep only. And now the report's been filtered down to only Birch. And then I will add the item dimension to the columns. So now only for the company called Birch, so I see that up here in the filter, I can see the products. And then as I open up inventory, I can see that I sold car audio products and cleaners. And then as I open it up further, I can now see that I sold an item called a car audio system to Birch in that time period. And I can see other information too. So I could see people who worked on a project, for instance, maybe as the installation technician for a car stereo system. And then if I, in the context of auditing and really getting down to the detail, maybe what I want to do is add what's called the line description to the report. And now I can see the sales order information. And then I can also add on the voucher itself. So the voucher represents the voucher that posted to the GL, since these are actuals. And I can see that I've got the invoice document and then the packing slip that was associated with the invoice. And then here I can see this particular number is a project transaction. But all that information is being brought together into one single spot for analysis. So to recap, we took a look at this from using Power BI as an end user tool. We took a look at it using the Excel add-in to write a formatted report. And then finally, we took a look at this by looking at the ad hoc capabilities within a pivot table. But behind the scenes, this true star of the show has been the data all along that's provided as part of Armanino's Dynamic Insights solution. Thank you.